Welcome everyone to episode 229 of the Focus TV. The highlights you just saw were from this year's 2021 Gym Couch National Training Showcase. Cardell will have a little bit more on that later. Keith's back with the latest on the Pac-12. We're going to talk some WNBA Finals, a little DC United update. But first, we're going to start with Octavia with the latest on NFC East.
I mean, I don't know if you want to call it the latest or just, the same thing that's been happening every week. I mean, I guess we can pretty much call it that. I don't know how many weeks in a row. I want to say it's been every single week, but I know each team has won at least one game. But for another week, there has been one team that won the NFC East, and all other three teams have taken a terrible L. Nobody took one worse than the Giants this week. The Giants played the Rams, lost to the Rams 38-11. Daniel Jones was 29 of 51, 242 yards, 3 interceptions, 3 carries for 4 yards, 1 fumble loss. He actually fumbled twice, but they recovered once. Devontae Booker, 12 carries, 41 yards, 4 receptions for 28 yards. Elijah Penny, 3 carries, 15 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 reception for 1 yard. And Sterling Shepard had 10 receptions for 76 yards. It's just a dumpster fire out there. It's just really, really bad. It's really, really bad. Now, yes, of course, they played against the Rams, who are one of the top teams in the NFC, but it's just, again, the Giants do have a lot of injuries happening. Yes, this describes the entire game. This is all you really need to know about what happened. It's literally that bad. And this is Daniel Jones coming off of a previous week when he had a concussion. I don't even know why he was still in the game. For most of it, a quarterback coming off of a concussion from the previous week, doing quarterback sneaks when you're getting blown out, it doesn't even really make sense to me. But one thing that I always take from what Wilson says is bad teams do bad things, and I am not surprised. But yeah, I don't even really feel like I need to say too much about this. It's just bad. It's just bad all the way around. Again, we see Daniel Jones is back with the turnovers. Again, I'm giving him slight leniency just because he is missing majority of his weapons. We know that Saquon's out. We know that Kenny Golladay didn't play this week. Kadarius Toney, who had a great week last week, left early in this week. Even when he started off well, he left early this week. It's just bad. They need to just go ahead and at this point wrap it up and try again next year. I don't know what to tell them. Hey, I know I've already said football season's over. They need to say that football season's over for them as well. Because I don't know about rushing. They're talking about if Saquon will be back next week. I don't know. I don't know the point of rushing him back at this point. They're 1-5. No, we're not getting. Nobody else is getting out of the East, the NFC East. You're not going to make a playoff. So I don't know. But I digress. They play the Panthers next week. Panthers have had their own struggles, of course, but if anything can happen, as we saw last night and as we saw with many of the games over the weekend, but I can't fathom that happening. But to you Giants fan, definitely keep believing. Hold your breath. For my terrible team as well, we played the Bucks last Thursday night. Lost to the Bucks 28-22. Jalen Hurts was 12 of 26, 115 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 10 carries for 44 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Miles Sanders had 9 carries for 56 yards and 2 receptions for 10 yards. Plus Watkins, 3 receptions for 44 yards. And Zach Ertz, 4 receptions for 29 yards and 1 touchdown. It's still really, really bad. The first half was just horrible. I think they said they had 7 yards of offense. It was probably less than that in the whole first half. And just the Bucs were doing whatever they wanted to do. It was bad. Jalen Hurts, again, I am trying to give him slight leniency just because while, yes, he's not a rookie, he's technically a rookie. He started 4 games last year as a rookie, and then this is his first full season. It was only his 10th game starting. His accuracy is the issue. It's not his legs, we can tell. But they're putting so much pressure on him that everybody knows what's happening. Again, Jalen Hurts had 10 carries. Miles Sanders, the actual running back, had 9. What is happening? We keep forgetting that we have a running back. the couple of carries that he did get in the second half, you were able to see that, again, he knows how to run the ball. I don't know what Nick Sirianni is doing. I have no clue what's happening. The defense is still suspect as well. But, again, they're still getting better. Fletcher Cox has still been MIA. I don't think he had a tackle in the game at all. And, of course, it's a Super Bowl winning Bucs. It was just too much. I do appreciate the heart at the end because they were down 28-7 to come back to get it to within 4. Only losing by 6. Where we actually, Jake Elliott, who does not do this a lot, missed the field goal that could have at least brought us 3 points closer. Who knows what would have happened at that point? But again, an L is an L. Definitely have to give a shout out to Zach Ertz. It hurt me to see him go. I knew it would happen eventually. The fact that he knew he was getting traded before the game, still played the game, and scored a touchdown in his final game as a Eagle shows you the class of the type of person he is. Some people wouldn't even play, knowing that you're going to get traded after this game, especially because Dallas Goedert, who is his replacement, was not slated to play that day just because he was on the COVID reserve list. So I give him a lot of props for being able to do that and playing. I think that it's a great decision for both programs just because I think Zach is probably in the later years of his career. And I think it was a great idea and good of the team to get him to a place where he could potentially win a Super Bowl because we know how good the Cardinals are looking this year. So kudos to him, but still sucks to see him go. Somebody that, has been around for a long time. Other team that took an L this week, Washington football team played the Kansas City Chiefs, lost to the Chiefs 31-13. Taylor Heineke, 24-39, 182 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. J.D. McKissick had 8 carries for 45 yards, 8 receptions for 65 yards. Ricky Seals-Jones had 4 receptions for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. And Terry McLaurin, 4 receptions for 28 yards. Again, I said this on Sunday. I'm going to continue to say this on Sunday and Tuesday when we talk about the NFC East. Taylor Heineke is not the answer. Just all you guys that thought so in the beginning of the season when he replaced Fitzpatrick and thought that if he played well enough, maybe he'll keep the job. Fitzpatrick won't get it. Y'all are counting down the weeks until Fitzpatrick gets back. From the timetable that I saw earlier, it was about an 8 weeks. So he is still probably not going to be back until mid-November at the earliest. And it doesn't get any easier for them as time goes on, especially playing against a horrible defense right now. As great as the Kansas City Chiefs have been in the past, we know they've had their struggles this year. And the Washington football team actually was doing very well in the first half. They were able to turn them over 3 times. They were able to get down and score, but to get the Chiefs to turn the ball over 3 times and to only be up by 3 points at halftime, you're missing opportunities. That was the time that they had to pull away, but they weren't able to do it. And it's like they left all of that motivation in the locker room at halftime and came back out in the second half, and it was just a mess. There were so many penalties. Again, it's just bad. Now, the secondary is still awful. William Jackson III, Kendall Fuller, just bad. Granted, yes, we know Tyreek Hill is out there, but they've been bad outside of that. A rare sighting for Ricky Seals-Jones. Of course, we know they're having tight end issues, but he was able to get a touchdown. And just the fact that Terry McLaurin, I feel for him so bad just because we know all of the skill level that he has, the number 1 wide receiver that he is. The quarterback can't get him the ball. Let's just keep it 100. He can't get him the ball. They tried to go after, the terrible secondary that the Chiefs have right now with all, and Taylor just could not be accurate enough to exploit it. And then you could see that they just decided to go away from that because it just wasn't a good look at that point. But again, it doesn't get any easier for them. They play the Packers next week. So I'm sure we'll be having the same conversation. Last but not least, the only good team in the NFC East that we talk about every week. The Cowboys beat the Patriots 35-29. Dak Prescott was 36-51, 445 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 carries for 10 yards, 1 fumble loss. Zeke had 17 carries for 69 yards and 7 receptions for 50 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 9 receptions, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns. 1 carry for 2 yards. And last, Jarwin had 1 reception for 1 yard and 1 touchdown. Again, I want to put him in my stats every week because he shows up in the stats every week. Trayvon Diggs, another one. Like I said on Sunday as well, I told Mac last week, like don't throw over there. Just leave it alone, you know. And then realizing that they played together in college, like did you not remember practices and all these other things that happened? Like why? I don't understand it. But on the other side of it, it was a really, really good game. I feel like it's the first time that the Cowboys have been tested in a couple of weeks. They had mistakes that we may not have seen in previous games, but they have Dak Prescott. You know, like I feel like with Dak Prescott, 9 times out of 10 they're going to find a way to figure it out. The biggest question that everybody's talking about is not even about anybody that plays on the team. It's the person that coaches the team. We have some questionable time management issues that is happening with Mike McCarthy. And while it has not caught up to them so far, the deeper they get into the year and the deeper they get into the playoffs, they're playing against top-tier teams with top-tier coaches, and those type of mistakes could possibly lose them a game. So that's something that they may want to address pretty soon. But now I did talk about Diggs having the interception. The other side of it was he did get scored on pretty bad. Right after that interception, Mac Jones came right back, threw a bomb to Kendrick Bourne, and Trayvon Diggs, you know, just wasn't prepared for it. But what I do like about him is that there was a quote that, you know, he took full responsibility for it. A lot of people were also saying that, you know, the safety should have been back there to help. It's not all on him. But just the fact that he already taken responsibility, he said, I'm taking accountability for that. I let up. I should not have. I like that type of person. I like that type of player to take, you know, when it's my bad, it's my bad. And I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm going to own it. But it probably helped the fact that, yes, they went into overtime and Dak threw a bomb to CeeDee Lamb, who had a day, and he is so disrespectful at the end of this game. And it was actually pretty funny to see it happen on Jalen Mills, who used to be on my team, and just the fact that, you know, Jalen pushed him at the end when it was no point to do so I don't blame CD for the wave and the see you later. But all in all, it was a really, really great game. We had some really great games this week. We had some games that we thought would be a little bit more competitive than they were. But all in all, it was a great weekend for the league itself. Not so much for the NFC East, only except for the Cowboys. Might as well just stop saying NFC East, just say the Cowboys and them. We can just go ahead and sum it up that way.
I feel it's almost generous to say in them. But we're going to move on to the Pac-12.
Call them the others.
Come on. The Cowboys and others. The Cowboys ... and others.
Yes.
Yeah, look. There's nothing else to say about the NFC East without being mean. It's almost a joke in itself. So I'm going to let it rock. Nah, it's cool.
We deserve it.
I don't have the room. I can't at this moment to be mean to them. Team's looking up at 500 too. So we're going to move on to Keith with the Pac-12. When we come out of that, coming to our first break, then we'll return. We're going to talk about the newly crowned WNBA champs. And, you know, adore that, you know, it's making its round in social media for interesting purposes. We'll get to that in a little bit. You're watching the Focus TV again. Up next, Keith, Pac-12 segment, and we'll see you guys on the other side of the break.
And I am back, another week of the Pac-12. I am happy to be back. I'm happy to give you guys more updates on the Pac-12 this week. I have some unfortunate news, but we'll get to it. Well, we might as well start and get into it now. You know, the unfortunate news is that ASU fell 35-21 to Utah. You know, in the first half, it was all one-sided. It was all ASU. ASU dominated in the first half. They made everything look easy. You know, from the beginning, you know, Jaden Daniels had his way. The first drive offensively was really nice. They got what they needed to do. They had a nice red zone play that ended up in a score. Everything was going right in the first half. And then the second half came, and I don't know what happened at halftime, but unfortunately, they weren't able to continue the strides they were on offensively and defensively in the second half. You had many mistakes, many open looks for the quarterback. Cameron Rising made it look, I don't want to say easy, but he made things go his way very often, and he didn't make it look like he was struggling at all. But enough of the bad. Unfortunately they did lose, but nonetheless, Jaden Daniels had 237 and 2 touchdowns. Also had 32 rushing yards on 14 carries and a score. So, a bit of a slower rushing day with him because you don't normally hold him to under 50 rushing yards. But unfortunately they did, and I think that was their game plan in the second half to get, the offense slowed down enough for their offense to continue to be where they left off in former weeks. Hodges was the lead receiver, 4 catches, 74 yards, and a score. And Utah's running back led the way the entire game for them, had 80-plus yards and a touchdown. Rashad White and Trainum had both under 60 yards this game, and I think Utah's point of view and how they came, their strategy coming into the game was, we're going to slow down the run game, and we're going to make you beat us through the air. And through the first half, it worked. And then I guess at halftime they adjusted, and ASU didn't. It happens. It's unfortunate. Nonetheless, Utah came out with the win 35-21. Now let's move on to Oregon versus Cal. It was a close one until the end. Travis Dye just controlled the game. 145 rushing yards on 21 carries. That's just impressive. This was Oregon's first game without Verdell. CJ Verdell and Travis Dye complemented each other really well, but not having that key other pieces like Zeke and Tony Pollard. Without each other, they're going to struggle. With each other, they're really good. Travis Dye was really good without CJ Verdell, and it came to a surprise to some. Not to me. I think Travis Dye is a very, very fast running back who can get downhill pretty quick, and he also tacked on 73 receiving yards. So he was able to prove that he can be that lead back in this Oregon offense, and I think that's what they needed, enough to improve and to prove to themselves that without CJ Verdell, they can still be an impactful team. Nonetheless, they came out with the win 24-17 against Cal. That was a tough win for them. They are ranked 9th. They may go up. They may go down. Who knows? We just have to wait for the AP ranks to come out. Colorado beat Arizona 34-0. Arizona is on something crazy like an 18-19 game losing streak. Arizona has been struggling offensively, defensively. They recently had walk-on tryouts open to the entire school. Personally, I don't know how that looks for a school to, mid-season have walk-on tryouts. I don't think that gives a good look for how you view your team and how you view being able to bounce back and pull out even one win. It's been quite a while, but they are looking to do that. Colorado quarterback Brendan Lewis had his way with 248 and 2 touchdowns. Jared Broussard, he's been slower as of late. He only had 13 carries and 53 yards. I spoke very highly of this guy earlier in the season. He played really well early in the season. He's been slowed down as of late. I'm not sure what the cause of that is. But son of Jerry Rice had his first big game. He had 3 catches, 111 yards, and a score. So that's nice to see for him. He is a freshman, as I am myself. I do see, when he played ASU, now he didn't have a big game, but he still is an impactful player. You can tell by the way he runs routes, his speed, his height. He just has it all, and I think once he, matures, gets through that offense and is in the offense for a few years, he will be a high round pick, and it won't be because of his last name. It'll be because of the play he displays on the field. So that's good for him. I'm wishing him the best. Colorado was able to get through Arizona, as most schools have. So nonetheless, good job for Colorado. On to Washington State, who won a close one. It was a tight one against Stanford, 34-31. Laura did it. You guys know, if you guys have been watching from the beginning, which most of you have, I have been on his case about him being able to get through a game without making the little mistakes, the interceptions, the fumbles. And this game, he didn't have any. He had 289 passing yards with three touchdowns and 0 interceptions, which was so good to see. That's good to see his play developing. But Max Berge, running back, helped a ton. He had 89 rushing yards on 17 carries with 2 touchdowns. And, I think one of the more underrated aspects of having a successful quarterback is having a successful run game. It eases the pocket for him a lot of times. Play action works a lot more often. And it makes everything more cohesive in the offense when everybody is knowing that the run game is somewhat of a threat and that they have to play honest on some downs. So that's nice to see that DeLaura was able to come out of this game without having any turnovers and having 3 touchdowns, which is mighty impressive, and almost reaching 300 passing yards. So I guess, he's put up three plus touchdowns before, but, he's had that 1 interception. And I'm just looking for him to have that 300 plus game with 3 or 4 touchdowns, or even more than that. He's a very good quarterback, and he continues to impress week in and week out. So that's good for him. Moving on to UCLA. UCLA beat Washington 24-17. DTR finally, he had his bounce back game. Last week he had 82 passing yards. This week he had 183 with 2 touchdowns. And like I just mentioned for DeLaura, UCLA, Zach Charbonnet had 131 rushing yards on 21 carries. Don't you think that made it easier for DTR to pass the ball this game when the running game is working as often as it is? And look for Zach Charbonnet to be a sleeper pick in the draft to come this year. He's been putting on a great campaign to be one of the better running backs out of this class. I don't remember the last time I said he had a game under 100 yards, so that's extremely impressive. Obviously, this UCLA offense runs through him with the fact that he has over, 20, 30 carries, or not to say 30, but 20 to 25 carries a game when DTR has his lower passing games. So that's always good to see when you have a quarterback and a running back who can complement each other. DTR also had 87 rushing yards in the score, so that's good to see that they were able to establish the run game in this game, and that's what helped them beat Washington 24-17 and come out with the win. It was a much-needed win. Now they beat Arizona, but who hasn't? So it was nice for them to finally beat I want to say an established team, because Washington has lost some games, but they've also won some games, and they've been quite impressive this season. So that was a good win for UCLA. Nonetheless, the Pac-12 had a bunch of good games. ASU fell, Cal fell to Oregon. So it was a bunch of good games this week. On to next week, I will definitely hit you guys back with another update come this next week. Pac-12 is getting interesting. It's coming down to the wire. Let's see who comes out on top. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. Always enjoy Keith knocking out the Pac-12 each and every week. All right, so the WNBA Finals. We've been keeping you guys updated, been talking each week as it was happening. It's over. We have predictions. We have some commentary. The Chicago Sky had their parade today, so congrats to them. They rallied from 7 down with 4:42 left in that one. Beat the Phoenix Mercury with a title. Allie Quigley had 26. Candace Parker had 16 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. Kalia Copper won the Finals MVP, very deservingly so, might I add. She's heading to free agency with it's not a bad way to head into free agency. If you're her agent, you gotta love it. By the way, my client's a Finals MVP. Well deserved. Again, she's one heck of a intriguing free agent addition to this class. All right, so we just want to have some quick thoughts on this series. Want to start with you, Ray. Your initial thoughts now that the series has concluded.
It was a great series, man. But honestly, I kind of knew Phoenix was in trouble when they lost game 1 at home, because I just didn't see them having a lot of success in Chicago. That atmosphere is just too crazy, and and they're hyped up and deservedly so. They have one of the greatest players in WNBA history coming back home. And they're and from jump their attitude was we got to get a championship. And during the season they struggled with injuries and such. They finished 500, but they got hot at the right time, and they stormed through the playoffs, and They just limited everything Phoenix was able to do against any of their other opponents. Brittany Griner was still hell to deal with, but they made it tough. Cardell always says, with a great player, you're not going to stop them. You just got to do your best, make them inefficient, make it hard for them. And that's what they did, man. Their length, athleticism, and their toughness. They were able to bother her just enough as to where they can pull out the victory. And man, just the way they compete, man, and their grit. It's that's a tough group to deal with, man. And Phoenix was game. They were competitive aside from one game where they got blown out, but yeah, Chicago just able to close it out at the end. It looked like Phoenix was going to pull it out. They were up 7 with I think about 6 minutes to go, but Chicago just went on a hell of a run, man, and that arena just I can only imagine what it was like in there. On TV you could tell, you could feel it coming through your set. Just how rambunctious that crowd was, and big shout out to Claire Copper. She grew up, and she definitely made a name for herself in these playoffs. And of course, like you said, Wilson taking home the Finals MVP. But you can't go without mentioning the other players. Courtney Vanderswood, man, she showed why she's one of the greatest point guards to ever play in the WNBA. She controlled every game. She was a maestro. She just set everybody up and just basically did whatever she wanted. Hit some timely baskets as well. Had some great assists. And yeah, man, everything came together for them, and I'm happy for them, man. I'm glad they were able to win it. Candace, her that story there is just amazing. Her able to to get the trophy in the first season she came back home. That's just that's just awesome to see. And it's plenty of storylines within this whole thing. Even on Phoenix's side, Shea Petty didn't latch on in the WNBA until she was 30 and had been cut every season. And now, she looks like she's found a home, and Phoenix is looking to run it back next year. So yeah, man, it's a good time for women's basketball. That was a great series, and even we saw the interaction on social media and things like that, just bringing more attention to the game. And it was really good to see.
All right, Cardell, your thoughts on the series now that it's over?
Yeah, for me, I just felt like Chicago, played flawless basketball and got hot at the right time in the playoffs. And they finished the job in dominant fashion. Their big four have Ollie Quigley, Kalea Copper, Candace Parker, and Courtney Vanderswood all averaged double figures in the finals, man. With 3 of the 4, Copper, Parker, and Vanderswood shooting 50% from the field or better, and 3 of the 4, Quigley, Copper, and Parker. All 3 of those players shot 35% or better from deep. Then defensively, they held down Mercury to 39% shooting from the field, with Tarazi shooting 32% from the field and 29% from deep, and Diggins Smith shooting 35% from the field, 30% from deep. Like Ray said, grinding, she gonna do what she do. She was no lone constant for Phoenix, and I think that was the idea for Chicago. Let her do what she do and focus on the others. I love Tarazi, but it's no secret she's up there. On the fella side, they say father time. On the women's side, it's mother time. You know what I mean? It catches up, and she the recovery, the quickness to bounce back game to game, guard, defend. It's not always there, and you saw it in the finals. And y'all mentioned Copper, another Tabalt gem. You know what I mean? When she was here in DC. She was younger, obviously inconsistent, trying to find a way. He made a decision at the time, to kind of go with Atkins and whatever, and it worked out. They got the chip. You can't knock that. But she grew up and she got better. And I don't know what she was on. And, I mean, it wasn't even just his playoffs, man. Even throughout the season, she was just, she was a problem on the wing. With her, the way she could score off the bounce, she was hitting her threes. And Lord knows defensively, she was just locking down, man. Like, no one wants to say it, I will. At times she made Tarazi disappear. You know what I mean? And that's who people voted to go. That don't normally happen, man. And she was key. Their big four just played better than Phoenix big three. You know what I mean? And that's hard to overcome. It's hard to overcome. They needed the Mercury needed all 3 of their players to play up to their standards and then get help from somebody else, and they didn't get close to that. That's why they lost 3-1. I want, like Ray said, salute to Candace Parker. Wilson, we was here, when they lost at GW in the playoffs. She was injured. with her last couple of years with the Sparks, and people questioned if she still had it. She was getting snubbed from the USA teams. It was just constant disrespect. She come home, and she was rejuvenated, and it showed. It's no secret. Like we always say, you got to have one of those 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" do-it-all players because they currently dominate the league. You got to have one of them, and if you don't, you know, it's tough. You're not gonna win many games. And once Chicago got her, I knew they were gonna be a problem. You can tell during the regular season they were just trying to find their way. They were in and out with injury, including Candace a little bit, but it seemed like when the playoffs started, it clicked, man. And you gotta just give props where it's due. The coach, he coached his ass off, man. He to me, he's always been, since he came and got the job, he's always been James Wade. He's always been one of the top coaches. But now he got that one, like I said, that one unicorn piece to put it all together that teams don't have an answer for, and then everybody else can play their natural roles and they just click. And then on top of that, they were just hungry, man. For them to do what they did, the run they went on. I mean, keep in mind, they weren't like a top seed where they got a couple buys. They had to win throughout. They had to win 2 sudden death games in the first 2 rounds. Then they 3-1 the MVP and the top team all season, 3-1 them. And then they got the 3-1 over the most dominant player in the league, the player who people voted the GOAT, and the all WNBA first team point guard. I mean, what else can you say? That's dominance. Like, you got to respect that. I don't care who you're a fan from. You just got to give props where it's due. You got to respect it because they earned that. And that's why they had a parade. That's why they celebrate. That's why they're WNBA champs. And now, it's similar to the Bucks. Now that they have the chip, you have that championship pedigree, you have the DNA, you know what to do, you know what it takes. Obviously, free agency in the WNBA is different. You don't know who's going to be on the, be there team-wise. But I know they're going to try to keep their core intact. It's tough to do, as we see with the Mystics. They still haven't quite rebounded from their championship run. But, if they come back intact, especially with the 4 that they have, keep us, obviously Azura's there or whatnot. They got a shot at trying to repeat, man. So kudos to them, respect, and well deserved.
Octavia, anything you wanted to add? I
mean, you guys said it all, but I definitely think the fact that they were quote unquote underdogs coming into the playoff run. Like you said, having to play 2 sudden death elimination games, having to go through Jarquel Jones and the Sun, and then having to go through, Diana and Brittany Griner. And I mean, it was a great series. Like, I'll be honest, like, it was probably one of the better series I've watched in a long time. And just to see the grit and the determination and how hard they played, how well their coach coached them, how well they were coachable. They just gave it everything, especially, I feel like that, like you said as well, Cardell, like they were, played a more complete game. And I feel like the Mercury, they were playing a lot on heart and a lot on, pedigree as far as, it's Diana, it's the GOAT. And they had a lot of, hard work that they put into it too. But I just felt like they were so overmatched, and Candace was just doing everything. And then, I mean, Kalia Copper has the best nickname I've ever heard. KFC, like, that's probably like the best name ever. Like, I feel like it's like the best name ever. She got like the best picture from the playoffs. Like, I mean, like, she kind of came up a lot in this series, and she deserves every single thing that she gets, because she played 100% the entire game, and she is definitely one of the players that I love, because I've always, like I've said before, I've always been a defensive player. Like, I love a person that can put everything out there on the defensive side, and then as hard as you play on defense, like, the offense is going to come. It's always going to be there, but you got to work hard on defense. So they definitely deserved it. I mean, all of them together, it was just really, really good. Like you said, they had the best backcourt with Quigley and Vandersloot. Vandersloot dropping dimes, Quigley hitting threes, 5 of 10 in the championship game. They just did everything they could, and you could just see the grit. Like you both said as well, coming back from 7 down with a few minutes left in the game, and they just wanted it too much more. And obviously, they wanted it enough to win. So it was a great season. I'm sad the season's over, but I'm already ready for next year.
Yeah, and before we even get to next year, free agency is going to be nuts. It was nuts this past year.
Yeah.
Some of the type of names that they have hitting, like league-changing things can happen in free agency. Like the MVPs
Yeah.
are free agents. You just stop it right there. The MVP and the regular season and the Finals MVP are both in free agents. Just let that. I'm not gonna
Come
go
home,
to any
John
other
Quill.
game, but man, man,
That's what
Ball
I'm
to make
it
it
worked for
happen.
Candace. It worked for Candace. Go ahead, Cardell. Give you a moment. I know you're excited to talk about this. You were out this weekend, 2021 Jim Couch National Training Showcase. Who stood out to you this week, man?
Well, first I'm gonna start off, man. All the youngins that came up, the families that work with me through this process, man. Special thanks to y'all. Seriously, this was by far the hardest year preparing for this, man. Because as everyone know, obviously I'm pretty sure everybody's in tune with the Kyrie Irving situation. New York not playing with the COVID stuff. They just not, man. So they kept giving us updates, and I had to keep calling parents and teams and adjustment. I actually lost a lot of players that it was just too much. You know what I'm saying? Our parents couldn't come up there. They couldn't be in the gym. They said if you're not a player, if you're not part of the staff, you can't get in. And a lot of parents weren't cool with that. It is what it is. I had the team drop out. Octavia's alma mater. I was gonna have them come up and play. Have a PG County team play. They dropped out last minute. Parents weren't cool with that not being MC, but luckily we still had one team, John Carroll, and a few players still come up from Baltimore and bump, and they loved it. You know what I mean? It was just it was tough. It wasn't as big as it wasn't as big of an outcome as normally we're used to. Obviously, they kept it small with just freshmen and sophomores this year, no juniors or seniors. But regardless, the event got done and everyone loved it. Leaving from as we left on Sunday. I'm gonna start with the main event. Obviously, the DMV versus New York High School game that gets a lot of buzz every year when we do Gym Couch. John Carroll, who's the reigning Baltimore Catholic League champions. They came up and played Mount Vernon, which is the New York powerhouse. For those that may not know, that's where Ben Gordon, UConn, NBA, that's where he went. They're a New York powerhouse. They're always one of those teams that's there fighting for a state championship at the end of the year. Bob Cimino is their head coach. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame in New York. That just tells you their pedigree. And John Carroll rolled over Mount Vernon. They had their own troubles. A couple players got injured for the season last week, practicing, preparing for the game. Bus broke down, so they couldn't come up on Saturday, but they're professional as hell. They kept their word, and they came up. They came up on Sunday. They drove up, played the game, and got off the bus all business-minded and beat the hell out of Mount Vernon, 72-49. John Carroll was led by 6'9" senior center Cesar Chilambo, who finished with 12 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 blocks. But the way he got his 12 points is with open eyes. He's known for his inside presence, scoring in the paint, doing the dirty work. But he had 2 or 3 from deep. He showed he could shoot now. 1 dribble pull-ups off the bounce, spotting up to complement what he does inside. That definitely will raise his stock if he's to be consistent with that throughout this upcoming year, his senior year. If he does that consistently, yeah, he's a high major D1 prospect because he could do everything else with his size at 6'9", his athleticism, rebounding, and playing defense. Man, he already had that. Man, it's just the skill part that they were waiting on, and if he can get hit outside shots, he's the prototypical big man that every college coach wants. Now, he also took home MVP honors. A 6'4" junior guard, Janelle Basima, posted a game high 24 points for John Carroll. The game wasn't close to begin with. John Carroll jumped out to an 8-0 lead early thanks to his swarming switching defense. They never really looked back. Mount Vernon was just scrambling, trying to figure it out. It was a combination of switching man-to-man defense, but then it looked like a zone at times, so it threw Mount Vernon completely off. They didn't know they was in the zone, man-to-man. They were switching. It caused matchup problems. And a couple of their guards panicked, threw passes, and John Carroll were in the passing lane. They were out running, and they made a pay. And that's how they scored and got a big lead. John Carroll's guard play, Basima, Tyson Commander, T.J. Vaughn, and Terry Long Jr. were outstanding all game in all aspects. Like I said, defensively, they were on the string. They were facilitating. No one was out there trying to get MVP or whatever. They were just trying to get the W. They were leading. They stayed poised when Mount Vernon threw their traps and full court press at them. And of course, they made shots. It was just a balanced attack, and Mount Vernon didn't even know who to key on. John Carroll's leading scorer is Tyson Commander, and he only had 10. You know what I mean? And he didn't try to force it because everybody else, like I said, Basima and Shalombo, they had it going. And that's what it was. It was just a clinic. And they represented the area well. They were so dominant that the New York natives, including Mount Vernon, Hall of Fame head coach, like I said, Bob Cimino, came over, shook their hand, gave props, said they were extremely well coached. That let the team know they have a lot of work to do. And New York take it personally, man. Look, if you play ball, man, it's nothing better than going in somebody's backyard and busting them up, though. I'm just sorry. It's just always better. But 2 wins in a row for the DMV in this event, man. And, heard a couple when we was leaving, New York cats like, man, tired of DMV coming up here blowing out our high school teams. Like, what's going on, man? We got to change this. But, it's all in the game. You know what I'm saying? So we holding it down up there. But as far as individual prospects, just touch on the few that went up there and actually stood out. Oliver Spence, 6'8", 4 center out of Tacoma Academy. He's a freshman. Reminds me a lot of Joakim Noah. He's that type of mold, big, very raw, but he's skilled, he's tough, has great hands, can run the floor, coachable, sets great screens. And he's still developing, obviously, being so young, man. You can tell he's still trying to get a feel for what he can do, which is to be expected when you're that young. You don't quite know what you are yet, and that's the job of the coaches to get it out of him. But I could easily see him by the time he's a senior high school, a double-double machine, man. He already has tools that you can't teach. Like I said, one thing is his hands. If you throw it to him, he's catching everything, and he's going up. He's not afraid to pull it from outside, even though he needs work on that. But he has good form. He's going to knock it down sooner or later. And just playing more basketball, improving his feel and instinct for the game. Because you can tell he's raw. You can tell he just kind of picked it up a few years ago. But he's with some great coaches. Actually, his AAU coach is Coach Doug that we had on the show a few weeks ago. So he's in great hands, man. You know what I mean? I expect to see him, be a contributor with Tacoma Academy this upcoming season right away, and then just go from there. And then if you hear about him in newspapers and dominant throughout the area, competing for all Met selections or whatever, just remember where you heard it first. Mike Connolly, 6'1" point guard, a good counsel. He's also a freshman. If the name sounds familiar, he's a nephew of Tim Connolly, who's he used to be the GM. He's the director of basketball for the Denver Nuggets. You know what I mean? So he comes from a strong pedigree of basketball. Connolly is a legendary family out of Baltimore. His father actually coached Carmelo Anthony in high school and AAU. So that tells you all you need to know. Had a solid weekend, man. I've seen clips of him, but it was my first time really seeing him compete. And he's a lot further ahead than I anticipated. He had all the high IQ, the great feel, stuff you expect to see basically from a coach's son. You know what I mean? He know how to play. He know how to be effective. But he got some dog in him. He got some spirit in him. He competed. He wasn't scared. He got out there. One thing I loved about him, he has a soft touch, man, and he's taught well. When that thing hits his hand, is already in his shooting pocket, and he goes up with a shot, he has a soft touch, and it usually goes in. Another thing I love is that he's a great passer, man. It's plenty of times on the break he was threading the needle through traffic, right on cue, right in stride to his teammate, and they were scoring. So he has all the tools to be a good point guard. The thing that he needs to get better at, going right. He's a left-handed player. Everything is going left. Obviously, playing in the WCSC, the coach is going to pick up on that right away. But force him right, make life difficult for him. And also keep working on his body, getting strong and getting more explosive, because that's where he's lacking. He kind of got pushed around out there because he's slight of build, even though he has a decent height to be a freshman at point guard, 6'1". But once he had those two things and just get more experience playing high-level basketball, because, talking to his pops, Joe say he hasn't let him play. He hasn't really played in a lot of showcases. He's kind of kept him away from all the foolishness that this area has. I don't need to get in detail. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Trying to keep it where he's learning he's getting great basketball habits. You know what I mean? So, because we all know having that foundation is what's going to propel you to be the best you can be. You know what I'm saying? Not having all these bad habits that you got to overcome and try to get through as you grow. But all in all, he had a very solid weekend, man. I'm excited to see what he can do at good counsel. And for Casal's a great coach. He's great at developing players. So, I won't be shocked to see him making noise sooner than later. Kane Woodland, 5'7" point guard out of Curly, another Baltimore area kid. He's a sophomore, 2024. Man, if this dude was 6 feet 6'1", man, he'd be one of the top prospects in our area, man. They knock him because of the size, but as far as point guard play, being able to shoot, pass, defend, smart, understanding what to do out there on the floor, leading all, poise, he has all of that. He's just small, and a lot of coaches cannot get past the size thing, man. But he can, man. He was hitting threes from NBA range over 6'8" dudes, flying out at him, no hesitation, dribbling through the press, find pick and roll. He's nasty at pick and roll, man. He knows exactly who to pass it to, how to pass it to him. He knows how to make his teammates better. He's bright. He's smart. I heard he's a 4.0 student. I know that people may not think that translate, but yeah, intelligence does translate because you have all the ability in the world. If you don't know how to utilize it, you just out there winging it. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of productive. The kid can play basketball, man. I wish they would get past his height, man. You know what I'm saying? But he's a sophomore. He got time. Obviously, he needs to get in the gym, get stronger, get more explosive, because that would just only help his game where he'd be more explosive finishing around the basket. Because that's where he struggled. When he got to the basket and some of those 6'9", 6'10" dudes came over to try to block his shot, he had to get it up. He had to rush his shot because he didn't get a lot of lift off the ground. And obviously, he was trying to avoid getting blocked, so that threw his shot off. Obviously, getting more athletic and stronger, he'd be able to hang, take the contact, and still be able to finish. And that's just the next phase. But that's progression. He's just going into sophomore year. So, you can't judge him like he's a senior high school looking to, get signed to college right now. But he has all the tools, man. And one thing I love about him, he want to hoop. He's a hooper. And he don't back down to nobody. So keep an eye on him, man. He already kind of made noise last year as a freshman. I expect his confidence to be boosted playing with some of the top players in his age bracket in the country going into next season. And last but not least, Christian Thomas, 6'6", I call him point forward. He goes to the C School of Maryland. He's a freshman. I heard he was the best freshman in Baltimore. You know what I mean? When coming in, came up there and he showed it. Let's just say he left New York and they call him Baby Mello, because his game is how he moves, how he dribble the ball, how skilled he is, how he scores, how he facilitates or whatever. With his size and athleticism, it was scary. It was like eerie. It was just like, yo, I can't believe how much he looked like Melo. Like when Melo was that age, it was sick. You know what I mean? He's a little bit more, put together, bulkier, got more muscle with him than Melo. Melo was skinny at the time, but this kid got it and he confident. He got that Baltimore dog in him. You know what I'm saying? He was talking trash. And, Dad to separate him a couple times because he don't back down. Even though he's very coachable, don't let that. But he's competitive, and you can tell. Man, he wanted to win, but he had his way all weekend, man. Offensively, he has all the tools, and the thing that stands out the most is he could pass his ass off, man. Like I mean, cross-court passes, passing on a break. He's very unselfish, even though he could score 30 if he wanted to, man. That's the one thing I think he got the edge over Melo at the same age is he could pass the ball, man. He can make the players around him better, and that's just something that can't be taught. That's something that you have. The thing he does need to get better is defensively. He could be lazy. He could just be standing there watching. And with his size, he could do much more. He's a willing rebounder, but he could get better in that area as well. Once he apply what he has offensively, that same focus to the defense, man, the sky's the limit, man. But especially if he keep growing, he'll easily be a top prospect, 5-star, whatever you want to call it. He'll easily be that. And I saw why people were saying he was the best freshman in the city, in Baltimore City. I see why now. He's that talented. So, met his pops hoop. So I know his pops on his back. As long as he stay focused and keep working, the sky's the limit for him. And as for the national prospects, I gotta go. It's just two that jumped out. Jack Neer Radko, 6'9" center out of Kingswood, Oxford. He's a sophomore, 2024 class. High post monster, man. He's dangerous out of the high post because he could pass, he could step out and shoot, and he could put the ball on the floor and dunk on you. He's a willing rebounder. He can run the floor. He's super athletic. I mean, one thing, he caught the offensive rebound and had his back towards the basket, jumped off the vertical and reversed on the opponent. During the showcase, everybody caught everybody by surprise, man. He's super talented. He's easily a high major prospect. And last but not least, Bedard Diakite, 6'10" forward center, Northwest Catholic, freshman 2025, African kid. He was easily the best prospect at Jim Couch. Tim Thomas, if y'all saw Tim Thomas in high school, that's what he is. He's already 6'10", but he has guard skills, like legit guard skills. He can play point. He can shoot from three. He can shoot off the bounce. He can take you off the bounce, dunk on you, finish inside. He can pass on a break. He can defend all 5 positions. He's a freak, man. He's special. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him be a McDonald's All-American down the line if he stay focused and continue to do what he needs to do. Don't get caught up in the hype and stuff like that comes with kids that talented being that young. He's the truth, man. And like I said, I haven't seen nothing like that since Tim Thomas, because Tim Thomas was the same way with that size, the athleticism, but had the guard skill. And that's what made him the #1 player in the country all throughout high school until, obviously, Kobe took over. So, those were the guys that stood out for this year's Jim Couch.
All right, y'all. As always, anytime Cardell ends up going anywhere, getting in the gym, head over to the FocusTV.com, and then first of all, head over to FinalsMag.com, because there will be more outside of just what you guys just heard. And also, when you get over there, take a little pen, some paper with you, jot down some names, so you get familiar with this. And we hear it a little bit later, like he said earlier. Remember when you heard it first? We're gonna hit 9-4-50 breakdown with Jamal Hayward. This week is a breakdown of a drag dribble options offer as well as shot options. Again, breakdown of a drag dribble options offer as well as shot options, followed by our second break. Then when we come back from that, I'll give you guys a quick update on DC United and we'll close out.
Today we're going to work on the drag dribble, show you how it's useful to getting into your shots, whether it be a 3, a mid-range, or even attacking the basket. Also showing different options off of the drag. This drag dribble is used by guards, wings, some bigs that are capable to put the ball down the floor. So if you just pay attention to the game, you'll see it being used a lot. So we're going to start at the top of the key here. I'm going to start with my right hand. Key thing about the drag, you do not have to go full speed, okay? Steady speed. Whether I drag here to my right or drag here to my left, does not have to be full speed. Now, with that speed there and that space away dribble, drag dribble, defender is second guessing. What is he really going to do? Shoot, drive, pass possibly. You're not really sure, unless you really study that individual player and know all their tendencies, okay? But you really don't know if you don't do that, okay? So we're gonna go back to the top of the key. Now with that drag, like I said, there's options off of that drag. So I can actually drag twice. So I can drag here. If I don't feel comfortable, I can drag again. Same thing with the left hand. Drag here, drag again. Okay? It's more so of a shuffle with the feet. Try not to cross your feet. So now with the dragging, the reason why I say try not to cross the feet, because now if you drag here, I can come back here, I can go here. I have not crossed my feet. I can do the same thing with my left hand. Drag here, come back here, go. Shot. There's multiple different options off that drag. So, I'm gonna drag to the right for a 3. We're gonna drag to the left now for a 3. So, that drag dribble now gets the defender. I'm not sure what they're gonna do. Won't really know. So, now I'm going to some other options. Drag, behind, here. I can use my mid-range shot.
Welcome back to the Focus TV. As always, just want to give a special thanks to Jawan Hayward for knocking out the 9-4-50 breakdown. Quick update from DC United. A big opportunity missed on Saturday night when they hosted Nashville SC. That result was a scoreless draw. As always, the Black and Red had chances, especially early. They just weren't able to capitalize. They did a really good job to stifle Nashville's attack for most of the game. It's been the theme this season. As I mentioned, they just have been able to make the most of those key moments. More often than not, they aren't able to finish, and it just kind of adds up. The result knocked DC United down to 6th place. Going into that game, they were in 4th. It was also their first game in a really tough stretch where they had 5 games in 15 days. Hernan Losada talked about his group having to essentially just, really lock in mentally because physically they're going to be going through it. Again, it's 5 games, 15 days. All of them aren't home games. They're going to do their best to recover and get folks right. They don't have the numbers from a health standpoint. Like the numbers, they're there, but a lot of the players just got back and everyone's not match fit. Things don't get any easier as they host one of the better teams in the league. New England Revolution comes into Audi Wednesday night. And don't forget, the NBA is obviously starting this evening. Wednesday night, the Wizards start the season on the road, taking on the Raptors. So join Cardell, Raymond, and myself for, a little bit of Wizards Outlook following conclusion of the game. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we'll see you guys very soon. Get over to thefocustv.com. And, we'll see you next week. Same time, same place.